Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Social Yet Distance podcast, and tonight we're doing a special event with Alise Versella, who has been a buddy of mine for quite some time, and I've really loved her work, and I've watched it progress and go through lots of changes and growth, and it's just an exciting story, and I'd love for you guys to all have the opportunity to hear some of her work tonight. So we're going to talk about old work, new work, and future plans. So Alise, welcome. How are you, my friend?
Hi, friend. Good to see you. I'm well. How have you been?
I'm rock and roll and life is good. So
Awesome.
we'll just take it as it comes today. Um, let's talk, I was talking, I guess where today is coming from for me. I went back, I like to go back and do a little research, and I kind of thought I had my ducks in a row as far as what had been going on with you since the last time we were together on the When Wolves Get Wings um, book. And so the one thing that I noticed is your work's been ongoing and prolific. It has been going through some changes in its tone and its voice. And there's a lot more Alise out there in the public and on stages and things like that. And that's really exciting news. And so if you'd like to talk a little bit about how that has kind of come together for you, I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Oh man. So like currently right now there's what we like to call a New Jersey poetry renaissance happening. There's so many open mics like every day of the week happening from South Jersey to Central Jersey to North Jersey, and been an incredible thing to see crop up and just bloom and expand. And even like as far out west into Pennsylvania, there have been open mics in New York, and it's just been really cool to kind of spread my wings out, so to speak, and just meet new people, other poets. It's actually been like very fun and enjoyable, and just this sense of community. Like I actually feel it now. I feel part of something.
Do you think that um, we were all kind of forced with COVID and whatnot. We were forced into new arenas like Zoom, for example, um, where we did online readings and other events and things, and fostered that community throughout that period. And I think made it a much stronger community. Um,
100%.
I wonder though, because of where I sit, I think that kind of thing needs to go continue. Um,
Yes.
and that's my endeavor. Your endeavor as a performance poet is one to get out there and have that connection and that energy flow between you and the audience. And as an outsider sitting out and watching that, I sense that there's fuel from that, and there's fire that you take from that, and that translates into new not necessarily new ways, but new avenues and new thoughts that create a different type of writing. Um, Not necessarily in style, but just in subject. And I
Mhm.
wonder if that, I mean, obviously the energy is what it is. I just wonder how that energy rewards you versus your progression up to where we are now.
I think, well, first, I do want to say that I think the Zoom open mic should absolutely continue because, again, the kinds of people that you wouldn't otherwise meet. I mean, I've met people in other states that I haven't been able to travel to. I've met people in other countries that I haven't gotten to fly out to yet. And that is incredible and insane. And that's the greatest power of technology right there. And I think that is the most important bit of it, I think, to perform something that you've written to people who understand it in a way that maybe
Mhm.
the general public doesn't. I mean, the people who are signing up for Zoom poetry open mics and who are going to open mic shows, I mean, yes, some of them don't write or read their own poetry, but you know, they the people who normally go to them understand things differently than I
Mhm.
think the general public. So it feels gratifying just to be understood, to, recite something that, you've written to try and process something that you're feeling, and then have it absorbed and taken in. You're kind of like held by strangers essentially, but it doesn't feel like strangers really. That connection, I think, can be garnered across a Zoom screen or in person.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And at least for me personally, because I have not lived the experience of an environment that let's just say I was not into writing and poetry the way I am now, where I took advantage of that community where I lived most of
Mm,
my life. It was a vibrant community. I just didn't check into it. It just wasn't my thing at that point. So I missed out on a lot. So I'm still filling the gap with the Zoom stuff. And the fact that I can, get on basically the phone with a room full of people in England and watch, my friend get a poetry prize from the UK government, is pretty freaking amazing to me,
it really is.
and um, for whatever damage it might have to my own ego and my own writing. But my point stands. I mean, the whole purpose of social yet distanced is we are social yet distanced. Okay,
Yeah.
it wasn't. It came up at the time of COVID, but it is an
Mhm.
everlasting phrase because
Yeah.
we are social and we are distanced, and that's just the way it is. So let's make sure that I get exposed to your words, you get exposed to mine, and vice versa. And I don't care if you're in Ireland or England or Africa or wherever you are, California, New York, Georgia, wherever, it doesn't matter. It's basically a phone call with a bunch of moving faces and audio, and it's the Jetsons we all watched as kids.
Yes. Rosie.
The Jetsons do poetry, right? So I'm more curious about the charge from being in front of the crowd, though. See, I have a memory of that from fifth grade when I was a virtual Romeo in my fifth grade class, plays and whatnot, because the teacher liked me. So, but that was my only exposure to that kind of glory. So tell me more about that and your traveling and where you've been and what that's all about
Uh,
besides group. I mean, I know who's involved, and I'm glad you're still alive.
yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the night and the venue, the crowd that night. Because it is incredibly terrifying still to get up in front of essentially strangers and recite some like really deep shit to people and hope they like it. You're always like in fear of like maybe this just doesn't hit, and they really don't like it. You don't hear like any kind of like gasp or like ooh or any kind of snaps on certain lines. Like that is such a horror that I haven't really had happen yet, knock wood. Um, but you do get up there. I don't like to talk to anyone really like before I'm supposed to get up and perform. Like I start to sweat. I do the performance. I don't even make eye contact with the crowd sometimes. And I know that's terrible. Like when you have gone to school and they tell you about like public speaking, you got to make eye contact. So I've gone and just like looked above people's heads. So like I'm not actually looking at you, I'm just looking above you. Or I don't have my glasses on ever, so I can't actually see you, which helps me perform like
Sure.
the performance anxiety.
May
It
not be
helps
good for
not to see. It's
reading, but
blurry. I can see like in front of me. I just can't see distance. But usually afterwards, it's this really great. I don't know how to actually describe the feeling, but you are like super charged up. It's like you got
Well,
struck by
having
lightning.
done
That makes
copious amounts
sense.
of cocaine in the 80s, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I guess it feels akin to that. It's like you had
It is
an
what we call a
espresso.
rush. It's a rush. It is nothing more than adrenaline hits
Mhm.
your system, and you go,
I
"Wow!"
do really quickly, and like it takes me quite a while to like come down off that essential high.
You do more
It's a
events,
good high though.
Elise, you got to leave the stage now.
I am really, really I find that super annoying sometimes, like when people take up too much time. So I try very hard to I'll ask a host like, they always give you like a time frame, and I'm like, okay, but like how many poems do you want? Because I'm
Right.
usually trying to figure out how long, like how many minutes a poem of mine is, maybe like two or three. And I'm always like, I'm not gonna run over time. I'm too nervous to be up here that long anyway. And you want people to want more, but not ever feel like, oh
You
my
read
God, is
off
she
your
done
phone or
yet?
you read off paper?
If I have like new stuff I've read off my phone before, it's kind of easier sometimes, especially especially now that I have multiple books. That's a
Right.
really cool thing to say. I have multiple books, so sometimes it's hard and awkward and kind of clunky
I can't
to
carry around that much paper.
yeah, like it, kind of just being able to scroll through everything on the phone is very easy.
I'm
Um,
looking for. I've got an app, and I think I took it off my phone, but um a teleprompter, but you can set the
mm,
time on it. So if you know you got 3 minutes, it'll take what you give it in the script and time it for 3 minutes.
oh, that's smart. I just like generally round up how long I think my
Yeah,
poems are.
yeah, it's a great tool. I've never used it not once.
I'm probably like selling myself short, like giving myself like I could do like maybe another poem.
I think that within boundaries, I think that as a rule, we're not real formalists on rules and regulations. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of give and take as long as you're respectful. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody's counting seconds.
No. Luckily, I've never been in a room where it's like, okay,
You get
get off
ejected
the
through the
stage now.
ceiling at 3 minutes.
Yeah. Like that is your time and that is it.
I've had some
So
people say that before the event, but that's a different story.
yeah.
So let's hear some poetry. Good God, I could talk all day. You know that.
Okay.
So let's hear some
Okay.
poetry. Tell us what you're going to read and where it's from.
Shall we start with like the very first book ever?
That was kind of my idea is we'll just walk
Yeah.
through the progression, but I'll let you choose the patterns or however you'd like to do that.
Let's reminisce. My first ever book that I self-published this one right out of high school. 5 foot voice. Because I am 5 foot, nothing. I have now taken on the moniker of the 5 foot poet. We've
Yay.
also always have to adjust the mic stand for me. One day I'll figure out how to do it myself, but until then, thank you to everyone who's ever adjusted a mic for me.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
I know, I know. Some mic stands are different, okay? They're not all created equal.
It's there's more to it. It's not about the mic stand. It's about I'm a performance poet. Could you please take care of my light work?
But
I'm
this is
diva practicing. That's what I'm doing.
right. Share. But this poem I do really enjoy. I was very much inspired by Walt Whitman back in the day. So this poem is called From Decay. The evergreen grass holds a deceased soul, one that has fluttered off to depths unknown. And still the grass is crisp and soft, and I can still run barefoot in it. The ocean holds gallons of blood thrown overboard by the ships on the seas, but still I swim through the rivers and lakes, and the blood does not drown me. This earth's soil has been rotted, yet still I sustain my hunger with the fruit that blooms from it.
Nice, nice, nice. Hey, as straight out of the gate, there's some power behind those words. I mean, that doesn't sound like somebody who just got out of high school. That sounds like somebody who studied poetry a long time. So that's a good thing. Did you have teachers that inspired that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. My creative writing teacher, creative writing was an elective in my high school. And I kind of feel like it should just be mandatory. That should be like an English supplement to the curriculum, honestly. My creative writing teacher, though, Marianne Jessup, she's the one who really, she looked at my work and she said, you should really pursue this. Like, you've got something here. And she pointed me in the direction of like local contests with like the community college. And really all of my English teachers did. They gave me so many avenues to go down and explore how to make something of my writing. So I'm forever indebted. I wouldn't be here without my English teachers and Mrs. Jessup.
Yeah, there are those who made a difference. And I've got a Virginia Burke in my history. She encouraged the artistic side of things, and they were always a lot wiser than I knew as well, because the ones that made a difference were the ones that were actually in tune with what was going on in my world. And so they were looking to help me with something they saw in me. And so that's what I think made it so special, is they went out of their way to find that hole in me that needed to be filled, and showed me I can do it.
Yeah.
And you can't put a price tag on that ever.
No, absolutely.
Because many other areas I should have fallen through many cracks, and I forced myself into many. And it was people like that kept me afloat.
Yeah, they show you what's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hope they inspired at that young an age was illuminary for a long time. To this day, it shines in my memory as the most, one of the most formative periods of my life. But it's always shined as like, wow, I could do that. I remember I could do that then, and I can do it now.
Yep.
And that same inspiration still gets me today. And that's the cool shit.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
All right. So I bet you wrote a poem about that, didn't you?
Well, probably somewhere in these many volumes. I feel like most of the poetry I've written over the years has been drawing from that boost of confidence and courage, or at least trying to make sure that I'm always finding it again if I feel that I've lost it.
When I start to feel that, I feel inclined to look outside myself, because I'm keenly aware, for whatever reason, that if I throw all of my focus on me, I get lost sometimes in what the reality of it all is. So when I start feeling depressed or whatnot, blocked from being able to write, or whatever kind of bullshit I come up with, I look around and I say, okay, here's a poem that somebody's like Alise, one day, a long time ago, I read a piece and I said, wow, that made a difference. You know, I need to find out more about this person, and I rely on that a lot. Um, I wonder if it's the same for you, if because it's the inspiration that I see, and that inspiration is it motivates me to want to do what I've chosen my craft to be. Yeah, I write. Yeah, I do art. Yeah, I do this, that. But I have a business mind as well, and I have some ideas about how to monetize this and monetize that and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
None of it's proven true, but the words are true. So I know what's important and what's not. And I wonder how important that is to you, or how important that was to you growing up, because just because I could put words together didn't really necessarily make a difference. It just gave me a free escape.
Mm. Yeah. No, I think growing up, I did seek out fiction or music. I think definitely music. I think like rock music. I was definitely the angsty 13, 14-year-old listening to like Audio Slave and
Right,
just
right,
like feeling my feelings when
right.
like I didn't know how to express what I was feeling at the time. And then yeah, my best friend, we're still friends to this day. We met over poetry and art. She would like illustrate my angsty little poems. And um, I mean, like Francesca Leah Block is an author and also teacher who's inspired me and whose work I go to, or who like helped me in adolescence, just growing up, like, and being a girl in this society. Like her works actually helped raise me in a sense. When you feel like that lonely child who doesn't know how to say what they're feeling, like I turn to books. Like, well, this is what I'm feeling. This character I relate to.
Right. Yeah, I think that's pretty darn cool. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. And I'm glad to know that that really does exist. Because I live in a world sometimes, even though I don't necessarily want to, where it's full of stupid little poetry wars and this zine versus that zine, and so and so's doing this to so and so. And it's like, my God, man, just make it about the words and sharing the words. And, what are you fighting over? Ain't nobody making money.
I know, it's like I still have a day job, man. It should just be about the art because you do it because it makes you feel good.
Right, right.
And then maybe in in the mix of all that, it makes someone else feel good, and then boom, you've like related to another person
Well, it's a core
by doing
problem.
it.
It's the same old human condition bullshit. I get much more out of my life when I'm focused on what I can put into it versus what I can get out of it.
Right.
If I'm trying to get something out of it, I'm going to step on toes. I'm going to hurt people. I'm going to be an asshole. I'm going to break rules. I'm going to, do all the stuff I always did, and it never worked. So why do I want to repeat that and just have angst and animosity all around me
Yeah.
when I have a say so about that?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't need to go on TikTok and rant about some poet who pissed me off.
I
Or,
know. You
you
could
know,
just write a poem about it.
yeah, or write a poem about it, or tell us you wrote a poem about it, or whatever.
Like,
Uh,
let the
you
art
know,
speak.
it's the same old thing. Like, okay, well, let's rail on Bukowski. Okay, rail on Bukowski. So what? Now you're going to rave about Bukowski. Okay, rave about
Yeah.
Bukowski. So what? Their opinions, man.
Exactly. It's all relative. Like people either like someone or they don't like someone. I'm sure there are people who don't really connect with what I write either. And it's like they're allowed to not like it. Like people will find what they're drawn to, and that's what they like. And
So
no one should be like,
I've been scared of the Alise Versella hit squad all this time for no reason.
why? Yeah, absolutely, for no reason. There is no it squad. It's not like you must like my work.
Hey,
No, literally,
we know
my
where your
work is
sister goes to school. It'd be a. I'd hate for her not to have her book in a book bag.
it's literally so dumb. You know, there are like hundreds and thousands of books published within a year every year. And it's like, if someone finds my measly little book amongst the sea of books and they like it, that's great. If they don't, they hopefully they find something else that's also
Miracle is
published.
they found the freaking book.
That is it. Even if you just found a poem, you didn't even have to get the whole book. Maybe just you like the one poem. That's it.
Whatever, yeah. Snap a picture in the freaking line at Barnes and Noble. Who cares? Well, all right. So time for more poetry. Let's hear something closer to new.
Okay, closer to new.
I definitely
Like,
want to hear some of the Wolves book, and I definitely want to hear some of anything
no.
new you got coming, but I want you to pick what you want to deal with next. So
All right. Well, we won't hit you with brand new just yet, but closest to new. And speaking of, I guess, like the fave poem, I've been told this is a fan favorite, and I do really enjoy performing it. So I will read from When Wolves Become Birds. This came out 2 years ago now.
wow.
This is called, I know 2 years has gone by really fast. This is called I Will Edit Manuscripts, but I Will Not Edit Myself. I do not wish for snapshots. I want the whole damn panorama, the extended cut, the unedited scroll you let roll forth from the typewriter like a carpet you did not have pulled out from under you. And I want the dust you swept under that carpet when your mother wasn't looking, when you grew tired of the nagging, after you unpacked all the boxes of your body you kept closed up, taped shut, because you've been so afraid to unpack your baggage and buy furniture with sturdy legs that would dent the carpet, legs that might scratch that hardwood if you don't first lay down some velvet to buffer it. I say refuse all buffers, like bowling without bumpers, like sometimes I don't care if my ball lies in the gutter, scream guttural. If today you cracked the mirror and did not like the imperfect reflection, scream if it makes you feel better. Because hawks don't consider the eardrums of earthworms, they scream because they are flying high and they are hunting. They are taking all that opportunity has laid before them because God gave them claws. So do not retract yours. We have deemed declawing inhumane. So what if you scratch a little? If you sting a little? The blood reminds the spineless, you are still here.
Yes, ma'am. I love that poem. There's another one in that book too that I really liked. I was looking, I thought I saw it on your website today. I was trying to look it up, but I don't remember which
Was it
one.
A Girl's Whole Life Could Be Found in Her Purse?
That was one of them I liked for sure.
I do recall you liking that one, which
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one struck you.
I don't remember if that was it or not. I don't think it was, but anyway, read what you like. I like them all. So
Shall we do another from Wolves?
sure, might as well.
All right. Or should we hop right into the newest?
It's your call, whatever you want to do. And so everybody knows, and so you know, I'm going to include links for all of the books in the description on YouTube that'll appear like magic sometime in the next 48 hours.
All right. We'll do one more from Wolves. And this is called A Girl's Whole Life Can Be Found in Her Purse. She empties her purse. Like the galaxy empties its Milky Way over the desert, the contents spill out. Like the hopeful prayers of teen girls who still believe God travels via shooting star. She empties her purse and tosses the Revlon red in the trash because that's how he made her feel when she wore it. Her mouth a pretty stain like the stain on the carpet. Why did we ever wear blue-white eyeshadow? Like somehow it made us more adult to wear such unflattering makeup. What's this infatuation with girls and their makeup? She throws that too in the trash and mumbles, fuck it, as if the absence of color on her face would stop them from staring. It doesn't. She cuts the credit card in half, the one she charged for the cab to take her home, the one with higher limits than the levels of booze in his blood. My mother always told me to keep extra money for a ride, like God forbid anyone act dignified before trying to get between our thighs. The plastic cracks like the makeup she slept in. I should invest in waterproof mascara because it always runs when I cry. Men name their cars, so I named my purse. I call her Priscilla, not like his wife, more like queen of the desert. She empties her purse, but keeps the license, not merely a privilege awarded, but more like that freedom we sought. We keep trying to fill ourselves up like we are not already enough. I think I'll just keep on driving, ride these roads into the desert and find something altogether different to fill the contents of my purse with. She didn't want to be queen of just the desert. She wanted to be queen of herself. You can tell a lot about a girl by what she keeps in her purse. It's like we keep our whole life there to carry it close. And it weighs some of us down like a burden or a curse. No wonder she dumped it all out. She'd rather carry the universe in her heart where it counts.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Having dug around in many purses. I just the only thing that I think you left out was it's because I'm older than you. Bubble gum lip gloss needs to be included.
Yeah, that's a little bit before my time. I think we all stopped using the bubblegum lip gloss, but there was
Yeah,
definitely a lot of Bonneville lip gloss.
yeah.
So.
I think they were the same company. It was just whatever flavor it was a flavor of the week. My particular memory is bubblegum. And a girl that you would swear, at least, or I would have, was Farrah Fawcett.
Nice. She had the waves.
Yeah, it wasn't the waves I was that concerned about at that point, but it's how much could she drink?
Oh man.
I was one of those guys that your mom told you to make sure
Warned us
you have money.
about. Yeah.
Make sure you have money for a ride home.
Oh dear.
Not because I was nefarious, but because I was too drunk to drive usually.
Oh, thank God for Ubers now.
Really. Um, yeah, I really like that book a lot. And it feels like there's a direct line between the assumption would be you and the stories that are revealed in the poems. Whether that's true or not is not really the question. It's just there's a direct line there. It's like these are lived experiences, they're not contrived ones.
Right, absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yeah. They definitely are more rooted in my actual experience, where the first three self-published weren't so much taken from my personal life, more so things that I watched and consumed and then wrote about. But When Wolves Become Birds was definitely me going through it. And
Right.
it's a grieving of the self and trying to find my way back.
So in that process, did we birth another book?
We did birth another book because then we were in the height of a pandemic and a lot of violence in the summer of 2020. And again, I feel like a process of grieving had to happen. And I think, to be honest, this book still doesn't feel complete in a sense, because the things that I've written about in this new chapbook, we are still experiencing. The gun violence, the police brutality, we overturned Roe v. Wade after this book came out, and it just feels like I needed a way to make sense. Again, poetry was what I've always used to make sense of my world, the world I live in. And so these poems came about, me feeling lost and weary in this society that I've now found myself in as like a soon to be 33-year-old woman. And how do I process this? How do I make sense of this? How do I wake up every morning and still continue? And so I wrote a psalm for the weary. I felt that hopefully these poems work as a way to show us that there's still some glimmer, some small fraction of hope, that we could still move forward. Like you ask yourself, what is the point of anything these days? And I find a poem and I think this is still the point. Like this is going to keep me going. This is how I stay afloat.
That is, I'd say the perfect answer. I mean, it's exactly what I would have expected. You know, the other side of the coin is, I mean, you go through these growth spurts, for lack of a better term, and you think that you've come to some sort of revelation or at least resolution. And then you wake up the next day and it's all been an illusion and all the same bad shit still happening.
Yeah.
And there's more people rallying it on and have fallen victim to the lies and the trap. And that's the scary part to me. So
Yeah.
to go through the healing and get to a point where you feel like you can feel a little bit safe and get a little bit of control back, they snatch that away as well, is often the way I interpret it. And that's kind of what I heard you saying as well, is it's like, yeah, you finally get to the carpet and then you find out that it's poison and then they snatch it out from under you anyway.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, let's hear about that, because I really am a little bit intrigued.
Okay. This is called this.
Show us the
Oh,
book. Tell us
oh
about.
yes. This is a psalm for the weary. It is out now.
It is beautiful too.
Thank you. The cover artist, Aaliyah Lumiere, did the artwork. It's phenomenal. Completely blew it out of the park.
Cool.
Yeah, this is called Sistina for the Right to Life. Silence equals death. I see the refugees stitching close their lips. The image becomes protest. Stitch means the last bit of a thing. It also means bring together, like how the Egyptians believed they'd be in an afterlife. But first, against the feather, the heart must be weighed. How would your heart weather if it were to be weighed? Isn't it enough that we will grow old and ill and meet death? Shouldn't we love madly and sing loudly, fully embracing life? If no one listens to what drips from our lips, what good is the mouth for? What would the tongue bring? Once the soul passes on, the body remains the vessel of protest. We stand defenseless in protests, rubber bullets and tear gas, the trampling of bodies. How heavy hypocrisy weighs. Cops and their blue duty to serve and protect. Who are they protecting? When those cops bring in a Black man or woman, they meet their death. No death for the white shooters, their smug, privileged lips. Who deserves this pursuit of happiness, this liberty, their life? The huddled masses are fighting for their lives. Hospital beds scream against mass graves in protest. Forgotten prayers tumble from lapsed Catholic lips. No stars pull at our hair, only crows pulling at our bones. It's all so heavy. This march toward death. When he comes, with what would he bring? Death comes for all of us, but no one appreciates the gift he brings. Reminder of our mortality, bittersweet brevity of life. There's so much to be learned from death. How to be like the blaze of sun that protests dusk. When the legs that keep you treading grow heavy and empty waters watch. How the humpback whale returns to the Hudson, hope on his lips. There's so much still to snip the stitches through lips. A woman stands triumphant above this city, begging you to bring her your dreams. Though the sorrows endured have made the bag heavy, there's still so much burgeoning life. The roots claw through the sidewalk in protest. The seedling persists, silently objecting to its death. We will keep objecting to the death oppression brings. Every kiss we throw away from cracked, chapped lips, pleading for life, smile in protest. The muscles fighting against the aching jaw and the heaviness.
I like that a lot. I was just writing down, seething persists silently. That's genius right there.
Thank
I
you.
really like that piece a lot.
Thank you. I'm still kind of blown away that I wrote it because it's a form, the sestina, and I don't normally write in form. So I'm quite grateful to Meg Eden because it's her poetry class that taught us the form. I don't think I would have written it without her.
Yeah, I'm not big on things like punctuation, capitalization,
It's
form.
awful.
One long sentence, lots of what do they call it?
The ellipses, right?
Ellipsis. Yeah, I'm an ellipsis heavy, man, big time. And I often play with the fact that you can use 3 or 5.
Hey, you could use 5.
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
This is news to me, and guess what I'm going to be doing?
So yeah, lots of paragraphs explaining what I just said.
I love it.
All right, paragraphs, parentheses. That's what that was called. Yeah. Yeah, that's you were tapped into some really controlled angst, I think, when you wrote that.
Oh yes, I was. Oh
Yeah.
yes, there was a lot.
And it
Again,
was over and above the fact you had to learn a sestina.
well, and also, and I must say, I have been reading a lot more nonfiction lately, but Olivia Lang is one of my new favorite authors right now, and her book, Funny Weather, Art in an Emergency, had come out during 2020, 2021.
Mhm.
And I was reading one of the essays in the book, and she was talking about the Syrian refugee crisis. And there was an image she had come across of refugees that had stitched closed their lips in protest. And so I had read that essay while I was taking Meg Eden's class and trying to figure out this sestina. And each line has to end with the same word. So I was trying to think of easy words to end sentences with, and I think the stitching closed of lips and protest was like, I think we're on to something here now. And so
Yeah, big time.
that sent me flying.
That's very interesting because that's exactly how it works. And you know, writing about protest and writing in protest and writing about censorship and those type in politics and history and whatever, it's an overeducated way of writing for me, just because I don't have the educational background, the academic background to know and understand a lot of that stuff. For example, my friend Fran, who is Irish and lives in England and teaches at Cambridge, has a completely different understanding of ancient literature than I do. Plus, she has the input of the Irish heritage versus the Brits. Plus, she's having, some input into being a protest, organizer for years and years and years and years. So she's got all these different factors and they all come together in her writing. And sometimes it comes across like it's a, story about a sheep next to a creek, and unless you know you don't get that, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and I was kind of hearing that from you, in that it's like with her, I have to pick up a dictionary a lot because she uses words that are just like, I mean, but it's the difference between her education in the UK versus what I got in Georgia. Okay.
Right, right.
You know, they were teaching me about Little Black Sambo, and they were teaching her about the Battle of Hastings and how the Irish people got screwed over in this deal and that deal. You know, it's very, very different.
Right.
And you know, what I'm hearing from you is that protest voice that's just a silent built-in voice that's there automatically. And you, she has all the historical knowledge, but she's tied into it emotionally.
Mm.
And it's not even really necessarily present in her persona or in her person, but when you hear it, you know. And that's what I heard in you, is this ability to, like, you're protesting in that piece, but you're doing it not silently, but in a quiet way that's not going to get you shot, you know.
Yeah, exactly. God, yes. No,
Yeah,
isn't that awful though? But yeah,
yeah, it is awful, but we do what we have to do because we believe in the words, we believe in the truth, and we believe in leaving it here for those who will value it later. That's,
right.
you know,
And just like
that's
a
the
testament to the times that we're in. You know, I feel like history books leave out the human side of what's transpired, but if you listen, like my dad always made me listen to, the protest songs from like the Vietnam era. Like that is how you fully learn about a history. Like you listen to the music, you absorb the writings of that time period. Like you listen to the people, you look at the photographs that they've taken. I think textbooks don't always,
right.
they very rarely give us the whole picture.
Well, and you know, I'm of the age where I remember being a little kid sitting Indian style in front of my black and white TV, movies of soldiers coming home from Vietnam every single day by the plane full in caskets, and getting a body count every day in the news, you know, and showing, you know, satellite images of burning huts in Vietnam, and, you
Yeah.
know, just horrendous stuff. And I remember sitting there as a kid and thinking, what the hell?
Yeah, and you had to watch that as a kid, like what does that do to your psyche now?
Right. Well, and then, you know, the war is over, and I watch these guys come back, and then we feel so guilty all of a sudden in Atlanta, where I live, and all over the country. But there was an influx of Vietnamese refugees at that point. That's how a lot of the Vietnamese families got here, was we brought them here out of guilt, you know. and
Yeah.
and thank God we did, because I love pho, and you know, their food, and the people are the happiest, lovingest people I've ever met in my life. You know,
Absolutely.
us, but you know, it was all guilt driven, white, you know, hatred that
Yep.
drove it all. You know, napalm? Are you kidding me? Do you know what that is? You know?
People have definitely forgotten.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
sure have. And what scares me is now you can sit like it's a video game. You've been playing all your life, and you can sit and you can drive drones and go blow up a mosque somewhere on the other side of the world and not ever see any of it, not
Yeah,
have
it's
any
crazy.
feelings, not be connected emotionally. You become a weapon of war, and that's so sad.
Yeah.
The weapons of war that are back haven't been taken care of.
Mhm.
Why do we put up with this? You know? Okay, enough about me. I
Or a
like
whole
that
book here,
protest.
Jack, about processing all of that.
I mean, I like your protest voice is what it boils down to, because people will forget. And it's nice that somebody younger than me remembers enough to still speak about it in that voice. That's
Yeah,
ultimately what I'm saying. So rock
it's
on.
important. Yeah, you know what? I don't normally do this, but I'm gonna thank my dad for that.
Yeah,
Honestly. Yeah.
you should. You really should.
It
think
I owe him that. Absolutely.
I think that's a noble thing. And well, enough about that for me. But um, I think that's a noble gesture, and I think we all owe that. And the way that we repay that debt is to make sure that the people who are in need today get what they need.
Yeah.
You can piss 800 billion for new weapons. Why can't you give medical care to the guys who went and fought 30 years ago?
Yeah. I would like that question answered by
You
our
it
government.
is what
Yeah.
you promised them when you sent them to go get shot at. You know, so
In the vein of wars and such, how about one that I've had to live through in my
yay,
time?
more.
Yeah, right. More. This is just a really lighthearted chapbook I wrote.
You're not earning $1 billion for this, are you?
God no. I still have to report to work tomorrow. However, this poem I did write after the New Yorker article, The Shattered Afghan Dream of Peace. And I also wrote this in contingence with the 30-year anniversary of Voyager 1's photograph, The Pale Blue Dot. This is called Afghanistan. A few letters strung together to make a country, a home, a war zone, a curse word on the tongues of babes. Do not say it in front of the faces of your parents who lived through such atrocity. Broadcast. Blame is where we place our coordinates, latitude and longitude, and the lesser of two or more evils. You see blame turned into blatant disregard, as it usually does when the point is long forgotten, when the bombs, like cymbals in an orchestra, orchestrate none other than violence. No poetic retribution for our fallen comrades, just children lost from their parents. A country that yearns for its independence from violent men, from more violent men, who use their fists in the name of peace. These avengers are the opposite of savior, of grace. What sense does it make for anyone to die to live in peace? When we remain with the rubble and watch the guards with their guns make the mess like a spoiled child who then leaves, denies responsibility, and the rest of us make do with broken toys or try to build something instead of abandoning home, think to flee, but who will take the refugee? We cannot always run from things. Who will be here to face the day? Voyager 1 took a photo of our little planet, our pale blue dot, in 1990. Each country on it with its man-drawn borders, its love and slaughter. Forget to smile for the flash.
Yes, ma'am. That one's actually kind of beautiful to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. It I feel hopeful at the end of that, even
Thank
though
you.
I mean, even though it's
Yeah.
transgressed through a bunch of BS, it's you feel kind of okay at the end, and I like that. I appreciate that, and that's
Good. I
magic. That's
do.
how I mean,
Yeah,
magic.
that's the magic of poetry, right?
Yeah, it really is, and you do it very well, my friend. You really do.
Thank you so much, Jack. No, I really do hope that most of the poems, I can't just write like a fully heavy protesty poem. There needs to be, because I'm still searching for it, that light at the end of the tunnel, that little glimmer of hope, keep the fire burning on the candle there. So I do feel that most of the poems still end on that slightly hopeful note, like they're within the layers of, you know, strife and violence and chaos. There is still that little spark that keeps us going.
Well, I think that truth is what fuels that, and to take this newer version of your voice and launch it out there, and then have part of that hope of it all be ripped or made worse after you've gone through that process leads me to think that the next logical thing to do is to continue in that voice the rest of the story and to continue that story as it continues to develop. It doesn't have to impact anything else that you do whatsoever, but I think that there's a piece of you that ties into that and vice versa that gives a view that I almost feel confident with some polish and practice can be developed into a weapon in that you always end up with hope. That no matter how bad it gets or no matter how good you think it is, there's always hope. And it's not even necessarily for something better, but it's something different. And it usually requires effort.
Yes,
And you
it
have to
does.
do things. You can't whine about it and you can't be moan. And you know, you didn't become a poet by meditating about it one night,
No,
you know.
I
You
definitely did
did the
not.
work, you know, necessary. My AA sponsor told me one time many years ago, it's like, dude, you want to be a concert pianist, you can't just hang around in a room full of concert pianists and hope it rubs off on you. You got to learn music and practice and do what
Yeah.
they do and follow their examples. It's like I decided I didn't want to do concert pianists anymore, but oh, can I just sit at
Scales are
home
too
and be
hard.
me? So I think it's inspiring, Alise, is really what I'm saying. And I hope that you tap into that voice and grow it, because I see great things for your future. And it's all fueled by your desire to be better and to leave a positive mark. And I feel that from you. I have from the very first time I read your work. So rock on. Tell us where we're going to find you and what we need to know, and I'll let you go party the streets of wherever you are.
The streets of Jersey. So
Oh,
you can
hell, you're
find
in
me,
paradise.
right? It's pretty cool here.
You just got to go to the shore, man.
I know. Yeah. Memorial Day weekend's coming. It's gonna be a tight sardine can on that shore.
Yeah, no, I'm going nowhere near my shore either.
Yeah, I'm staying home, I think. But you guys can find me at aliseversella.com. You could always send me a message on Instagram, Alise0x. And yeah,
All
and
over.
books.
Yeah, I looked at the website today too, and I really like the changes and stuff you made. Everybody needs to know, go to Lisa's website. You can buy all her books right there. And there's a substantial increase for everybody who does so. So it's the increase comes in karma later. So um, feel free to do that. Boost your karma, and I'll put links and stuff in the description. Anything else you want to cover before we close it?
That's all. Thank you so much for having me, Jack.
Thank you
So
so
good to see
much.
you.
All right, you hang tight, and I'm going to say goodbye. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hanging with us. We do appreciate you being here and tagging along with us as we go down the bunny trail or whatever you want to call it. Like, subscribe, share, buy merch, you know, all that stuff. We love you. God bless you. Most importantly, do subscribe to our YouTube, share it with your friends, get them to subscribe, and then put it on autoplay and let it play all day long, every day while you're at work, please. I need the views. That'll be awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye. You stay there, Elise. Stop recording.